Hey everybody, it's us, and we're back at the closing table. It's Doug Yop with the Ocean Air Realty, my boy Ben Hawkins, Lynn with Ben.com. Ben, it's been a minute, but we're back and we got a lot to talk about. You ready to hit the ground running?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, something new. The big topic we got to talk about, it's right here on my shirt. Our boys, the Canes, Stanley Cup champs, man. They made it happen and in convincing fashion, too. What do you think? I'm going to throw it to you.
I mean, how epic. What a series. It was, I think I saw the statistics. It was the highest viewed as far as ratings were concerned with television, Stanley Cup, and maybe ever. I don't know if you saw a similar stat or not on that, but it was just epic. I mean, I'm so happy for the Canes, all the Canes fans, the Caniacs, the city of Raleigh. And, I want to say something about this too. It was really nice watching the parade in Raleigh the other day and seeing 180,000 people gathered and nothing was on fire. Nothing was flipped
For real,
over.
right? Good
Nothing.
Lord.
There was nothing going on that was out of line. Everybody was there to celebrate an amazing season. So kudos to the city of Raleigh for being an example of proper behavior at a parade for your team. So you can do it without burning the house down.
So not only do we know how to show up and support the team, we know how to celebrate without causing mass chaos, right? And I don't think I've seen, unlike New York, I don't think anybody's getting fired for stealing a trash can. But we'll see. I mean, there's still time, I guess, for videos to come out, but hopefully not. But yeah, all joking aside, after 20 years, 2006 to 2026, Stanley Cup is back in Raleigh. Where's this rank among all-time sports moments in North Carolina?
It's got to be up there in the top three. Honestly, I think it was that big of a deal. I mean, to see a coach who won the Stanley Cup with the Canes 20 years ago hoist that thing over his head, that's just one great story out of so many you could tell. Bussy coming in and being the goal savior, the goalie savior, to come in and just tighten the clamps. I mean, that guy was absolutely amazing. So many great storylines. And feel-good stories that went along with this, and so much hard work. It has made me a hockey fan for life. I didn't grow up playing hockey or anything like that, but I sure have a newfound respect for those athletes. And like I said, Raleigh's an incredible environment for professional sports. I really hope they get that MLB expansion team. They deserve it.
Well, and hopefully they're able to parlay that momentum. Since then, folks in state government have come out and expressed support for it. Folks in Raleigh government have come out and said, hey, look, I think we're all locally and statewide willing to pitch in to make this happen, kind of a private and public cooperative. So that's necessary in so many professional sports. Now, I know we don't have to get into the whole tax discussion because I know a lot of people don't like to see their tax dollars go to something like this. But I think that I saw an economic impact earlier, and the amount was crazy for just a handful of games that they played for the Stanley Cup alone. So the playoffs made a big impact. And then if you can replicate that somewhat for 81 games during a regular season of a baseball season, then how much further would that go? And the really cool thing about this, which we've talked about before, if the Spurs won the title, that's not a Texas-wide celebration. If the Florida Panthers win, that's not a statewide celebration for Florida. The Canes are the only hockey team in North Carolina. When they win, it's a statewide celebration, right? So just right. So cool, and I really hope that we can use this to parlay that momentum and show, hey, North Carolina shows up for professional sports. When there's something worth showing up for, they'll support it. We've got good fans here. We've got a great fan base, got a dedicated owner, because ideally the owner would be the same. At least one of the owners would be the same. Who knows what they're doing? Let's make this happen. I'm ready for this thing to get started and for them to start accepting bids for the MLB thing. I think it's really exciting, and it's helped the momentum with that movement too. So we'll see what will happen. But let's keep the conversation moving, because like we said, we got a lot to talk about. So for your approved today, this is where we got to talk about our favorite subject. But we actually have some good news today. Ben, update us on where rates are and where our oil's looking.
Well, today in particular has been an amazing day for mortgage interest rates. You look at the 10-year Treasury, falling almost 1 full point. I mean, you're at 0.087 ticks. So if we continue the trend downward from 4.5%, we're going to be in a good spot. Also, the price of oil just a few moments ago was $69.72 a barrel. That is huge. That is huge, and I really hope that we start seeing the impact at the pump for those for the prices, falling on the price of oil. Pardon me, oil per barrel. But anyway, back to non-stuttering action over here. Yeah, it's going to set up a perfect storm for us to be able to see some rate cuts at the federal level. You'll start to see the inflation data reduce greatly, and that's a great sign for mortgage interest rates. So, those people that have been holding on just a little bit, I have a feeling that you could be jumping in the game pretty soon, as long as things continue to trend in the direction that they're going, right? I mean, you and I both know, Doug, we've seen it. We feel like something's resolved, and then here comes something else out of left field, right? That
Sure.
can happen with some of these wars or whatnot. But if we see this trend continue, we're going to be in an excellent spot moving forward. And I'm just very excited for all of our clients, very excited for us, and everybody in the real estate market and the real estate game.
Well, you're right. For several weeks, many weeks, we said all things are looking good, and then we backtracked, right? But never in any of those weeks have we seen oil go where it's gone now. Much closer now to levels that it were at the beginning of the year before the conflict than it ever got at its peak during the conflict, which is a huge sign. So as long as that holds and maybe even continues to slip, now we're looking at gas prices back closer to where they were, which means inflation should slow down. And like you said, when inflation slows down, now we've got reason and actual data for the new Fed chair to say, look, inflation is where we want it to be, or trending towards where we want it to be. Now we have just cause like they had, a year ago and didn't take advantage of. Now we have just cause to lower the interest rates. And then, I mean, I'm like Wyatt Earp kicking the doors open to the saloon. The market's going to go nuts. So let's hope that we're moving in that direction. And I think now we finally see the momentum and the actual things happening that we are. So fingers crossed. Hold on, everybody. Get ready. Let's keep it moving to On the Hunt. Ben, we were talking a little bit about this before we got started. Now everybody's on the hunt for what? Probably the most prestigious trophy in all of sport worldwide, and that's the World Cup. And the thing's about as big as my cup here. It's really not that big. But, I mean, billions of people are watching this. Have you been watching it? What's your experience been so far?
I've been glued to it. And I'm a football, basketball kind of guy, by nature, but, just appreciating the athleticism it takes to be on that field for that amount of time and performing at that high of a level for that amount of time while running full speed in most cases, with some jog breaks, if you even want to call it that. But these guys are amazing. I've watched it very closely. I'll tell you what really I'm very pleased about from an American standpoint. USA's got a really good football team. They have a very, very good football team. And I've watched a lot of obscure matches, and I find those to be the most exciting. And what I mean by that are like not your big names like USA or Portugal or Spain or Argentina. You know what I mean? So I've been watching like some of the off matches I normally wouldn't tune into, and I've been enjoying every last minute of it. So kudos to these guys. Kudos to these teams. They're putting it all out there. I mean, it means so much to the fans. It means so much to the players. It's epic. And I think the United States has represented itself very, very well up to this point. And I mean, all this can do is promote soccer in America, and
Definitely
harvest the next generation of superstar athletes that can help America compete at this level.
Well, it's I'm into soccer because my kids are into soccer. 15 years ago I was not at all. I wouldn't have cared about the World Cup. Now my kids love it, so I'm dialed in and I'm watching 4 matches a day. Right? We went to the World Cup in Atlanta. We saw Spain play Copa Verde, and they tied. It was a draw, and the Copa Verde fans acted like they won the freaking World Cup. It was their first ever World Cup, and Spain's a global juggernaut, and they came out and destroyed the team in their second game. By the way, they figured it out. But a couple of things, much like when the NCAA tournament expands or the college football playoffs expand, all these soccer old heads are completely pissed about the World Cup expanding. And I get it to a degree because they feel like it's diluted. But here's 2 key points I want to make. One, the World Cup is every 4 years. It's not every year. So it's incredibly different. The second thing is the global impact, and these teams have actually been competitive. Now, maybe they're not all going to advance. Copa Verde might not advance. Some of these other teams might not advance. But the fact that they had a chance to compete on the national stage, it's like the Olympics of soccer. And that's the way I look at it. It's great. We're there. And I mean, of course, there are American fans there. There are fans from everywhere. But probably the biggest ever accumulation of Copa Verde fans in one place in North America, right? And they're going crazy.
Right.
I mean, it's their Super Bowl, right? And the Spain fans are there, and they've got their pride on. So I think it's just so great. And to see my favorite part of all this, outside of how great the soccer has been, it's like you see how all these Euros are reacting to being in America on social media. They're like, we've been lied to. America's not this hellscape. It's a beautiful place. We love it. Give me all the Buc-ee's I can get. Give me some freaking barbecue. I want my unlimited fountain drinks. I want my free water with ice when I go to the restaurant. I want air conditioning, right? The people are nice. They're welcoming. I think it's been such a great thing for America, exposure for America to the world, because even our own media here talks bad about us. So, of course, foreign media does. But now people get a chance to see it up close and through their eyes, not something filtered with somebody who has an agenda, but just actually people out there. And I think for me, that's the biggest win so far of the World Cup, is people actually getting to see what America and the American people are actually like.
Yeah, I didn't realize up to this moment, with the World Cup stuff going on and the things that you were talking about, I didn't realize how negative of a perception that the media was putting out there about our country. Like if they're expecting a hellscape in America, we have beautiful lands. We're all nice people for the most part, right? Like I don't run across people that are terribly rude. I mean, everybody's pretty friendly. I guess it depends where you go. But at the same token, like I just I'm in awe of how the media just spins and propagates things like this. It's insane. America's a beautiful place, and it's great that the World Cup stage is our showcase, right? And that's kind of a cool deal.
Yep. And we're really just getting wrapped up. There's still one more game for the first stage, the group stage, and then we move into the knockout round. But America has already secured winning their group stage, so they'll be moving into the knockout stage with a higher seed to make hopefully that pathway to the quarterfinals and the semifinals, and God willing, the finals. So how crazy would that be? A little bit easier path. So we'll be paying attention. We'll keep watching. We'll keep cheering for the boys in red, white, and blue. But let's move it on to lock it in. Ben, last night was the first round of the NBA draft. Did you pay any attention to it? A lot of stars. Based on what I saw, the projections, at least for the lottery, played out almost exactly like everyone was projecting. What did you think of it? What do you think might happen in day 2? What do you think was the biggest surprise? And how about what the
I was tracking it to see where Mikal Brown Jr. went. He was our Louisville freshman point guard last year that didn't play a lot due to a bad back.
Thanks to him, Winslow pointed out to me, thanks to Mikal Brown Jr., NC State got called out on the draft because he lit us up for 40 points. So thanks for getting us some recognition on the draft.
If only he could have played more in the season, either way, he needed more help around him. And that's a whole nother topic, but I just specifically paid attention to that, Doug. I'll be honest. Last night Luke and I were into a few things, and I kind of put the phone down for a little while, and we came in and watched World Cup. So to be honest with you, NBA draft really wasn't on my radar other than I looked at it on the ESPN app throughout the evening just to see, like I said, where Brown Jr. went, and then who the top few picks were. I thought it looked pretty much like they had drafted it up before in the mock drafts. Like you said, no big surprises. But I mean, I didn't pay a lot of attention. What did you think about the Hornets pick? Enlighten me on that.
Well, they got the big guy from Washington, which they took basically the big guy, the best big available. Dude led the country in rebounds as a freshman. Apparently he's on the German national team. He was trained, or he was on their German national team, trained by Dirk Nowitzki. So pretty good pedigree there. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. We know we needed a big man. We'll see what happens. And then at 18, we got a guard from Texas Tech, Christian Anderson, who also happens to be on the German team and played with the guy from Washington. Big time scorer, good shooter. So we'll see what happens. Supplementing that guards. God knows we've got a couple of guards, but we don't know what's going to happen with Kobe White. We don't know what's going to happen with Bridges. So I think they made two good pickups. I think people were hoping that maybe they might package those picks to move up a little bit and maybe get the big man from Michigan, but they didn't. So now it's on to, they don't have a second round pick. So unless they make some trades or something, nothing's going to happen there. And then we're in the free agency, I guess, and we'll see what happens with that and any trades in the offseason.
Nice.
So we'll be following it, though. So let's move into due diligence. And since we're talking about rates, Ben, buyers obsess over rates. We know it. It's always the first question, right? My first question when I go to talk to somebody is, well, how much do I have to pay you? Right? Buyer or seller. Right. Your first question is, well, what's the rate you're going to get me? So let's talk about why is that so important? Are they obsessing about it too much? And what's a more maybe measured approach to take to rates?
Essentially what I do whenever I pre-qualify somebody, or I always try to get down to the what's really their big pain point, if you will. Is it down payment? Is it payment? Is it interest rate? Whatever. And a lot of people, it's about payment. Regardless of what the rate is the payment affordable? Now, don't get me wrong. You get people that are very rate sensitive. They should be. You want to make sure you're getting something that you got to live with for 30 years, and you want to get the best deal possible. And I get that. The biggest part, though, is payment. I mean, a lot of folks always ask me, "Hey Ben, what's this payment going to look like if I finance $600,000 or $300,000 or $200,000, what have you?" It's not. I don't get the question of what's my interest rate necessarily. Often, I should say. Now, I bring it up just so the client knows, kind of what to expect, what they're looking at. That way, when they get their disclosures, there's no big surprise, or surprises at all. Everything is on the level of what we discussed. So. I just, when it comes down to if somebody wants to purchase right now, it's basically, what payment comfort level are you going to be at? It has more to do with your loan amount necessarily than it does interest rate. I mean, the difference in a half point in payment on a $400,000 loan, you're talking about right about $80 to $100. It's not a ginormous sum that's going to completely put you underwater or what have you. So that's my 2 cents on it, Doug. What are your thoughts?
Well, no, I think that makes sense. And it's really about breaking it down to the micro level instead of trying to look at it from a 10,000 square foot and just saying, oh, well, that rate sucks. Well, how did you arrive at that rate? And if you're comparing to somebody else who's giving you a different rate, well, how did they get to that rate? Are you really comparing apples to apples, or is it apples to oranges? Are they quoting you maybe a better rate, but what you haven't seen yet is how much that's going to cost you over the term, to buy that down? And depending on how long you're planning on holding that rate, well, is it worth it to even buy it down? Especially if everybody's thinking about maybe we refinance in 6 months or a year. So it's about talking to somebody who can explain, what is really the best option for you. And the good point is, what's my payment? And that's what I try to talk to people about too, instead of saying, well, what's your budget? Well, what do you want your payment to be? Okay, well, what kind of loan type can you qualify for? Okay, so talk to Ben and let's reverse engineer that. And now we know what your purchase range is.
Right.
Instead of starting at the wrong end of the horse, you know what I mean? So just hopefully some good perspective and some good coaching to help people maybe have a little bit more insight on a better way to approach figuring out how you want to move forward with loan.
And Doug, also too, when we talked before about interest rates, the likelihood of them continuing to fall and falling further, right? If all this economic data stays the way that it has, I mean, it doesn't make sense to pay points right now, in my opinion, right? And I tell a lot of folks that. So if you get an estimate from a lender and it's got a 2% buy down or 2.5% buy down on the interest rate they're offering, while the rate may look nice, you're paying money. You'll have more refinance opportunities to get a better rate later on than you'll ever be able to make that money turn into good. For the amount it would cost you, you're looking at a 4 to 5 year recoupment period. So you have to wait to refinance to even get your money back in interest savings off the money you put up in points. So just keep that in mind, folks. If you're thinking about paying discount points right now might be a good idea to not do that, and kind of hang tight for refinance opportunities in the near future.
I think that's great advice. Folks, take that for what it's worth. That is really, really good advice. All right, let's keep this moving to Fix This. Ben, I'm going to switch it up a little bit from what's on the script for Fix This, but we are going to talk about the NCAA, and that's because yesterday the NCAA announced that they're moving to, you got 5 years to play 5 years, and it starts either when you graduate high school or the year you turn 19. So no more red shirts, no more COVID years, things like that. It's strictly 5 years to play 5 years. I think, it's kind of blowing my mind a little bit, but the NCAA actually got something right for a change, and I think it was a unanimous vote. What is your take on it?
Okay, let me ask you this, Doug. What about if a player gets injured in one of those years?
I think that's still up for debate. I think they'll still review injury years. I'm not 100% clear on that, but we'll see. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's great. I really do. I mean, if you've it just isn't the same anymore. And here's the problem. The model that we're currently using for NIL and these especially these high, D1 teams that are spending $27 million on a roster, it can't sustain itself. I mean, literally this is going to implode in a couple of years. So, with the way it's set up for me, I'm okay with the 5 years. I mean, it used to be 4, didn't it, Doug? Right? You had 4 years to play and that was it, unless you got a medical redshirt.
You could redshirt a year. Yeah.
You could redshirt a year, but I mean, you had four years of playing. You're right. So it's essentially kind of the same in a way, other than just not calling it a redshirt. But I mean, give them 5 years, let them develop. Sometimes that extra year could really mean a lot in a player's development for the next level. Maybe.
Well, and if I'm understanding this correctly, what I think it's also going to prevent is Chris Winkie.
Right.
You're not going to have somebody that went and played another sport for several years, or maybe that played overseas until they were 22. Well, now they've lost 3 years of eligibility because they've been 19 for 3 years. So hopefully maybe bringing it back a little bit more to what it's supposed to be, and that's young adult, collegiate aged athletes. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm sure we're not anywhere near the end of it, but they've been talking about it for a while, so hopefully a little bit more clarity.
It's one of their better rulings in a long time, I'll have to say.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to counteroffer. We're going to have another little food fight here. I know you love our food fight segments. What you got when it comes to chicken nuggets? Are you going old school? We grew up with the Happy Meal and the McNuggets from McDonald's. Are you going more conventional, trendy with the Chick-fil-A nuggets? Or you got a wild card you want to throw in there? What do you think?
Well, I'm going to keep it between the two. Obviously, I am a chicken nugget expert, if you will, a connoisseur of mini chicken nuggets. McDonald's will always have a special place in my heart because I grew up eating them as a kid, and the Happy Meal and the dipping sauce and all. It was fun back then, with Grimace and all the Ronald McDonald and Hamburglar. All the characters, McDonald's is like a kid-friendly place. Now it looks like a prison or something. The way they're constructed, the colors and everything. But anyway, Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets, I don't order chicken nuggets typically at Chick-fil-A. I just don't do it. I always get a chicken sandwich. Oh, and Lucas over here, sorry, Lucas chiming in says same with him too. So if I'm going off just McNuggets, don't get me wrong, Chick-fil-A McNuggets, they're more real chicken than what's in my McNugget at McDonald's. I don't know what's going on with 50% of that whole equation. I know a chicken doesn't have a body part called a McNugget, And I've watched some videos on how that stuff's made, and it kind of grosses me out a bit. But like, I'll still go crave a hot order of chicken nuggets. Just don't give them to me like after they've been sitting under the lamp for a while, please. I can't handle that. They got to be fresh chicken nugs. How about you, Doug? What's your preference?
Well, I got a couple of follow-ups before I get into that. First of all, what's Luke's preference, McDonald's or Chick-fil-A nuggets?
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
All right, I hear you, brother.
But he's not talking about. Hold on. Doug's asking you chicken nuggets though. McDonald's or Chick-fil-A? He still says Chick-fil-A, Doug.
All right. Another follow-up question. What's your preferred sauce for each, and is it the same or are they different?
Okay, mine is Polynesian for Chick-fil-A, and then just ketchup for McNuggets.
Oh, interesting. So for me at Chick-fil-A, which I go the tender route, not the nugget route at Chick-fil-A. The only time I get the nuggets at Chick-fil-A are in the chicken mini breakfast things with the Hawaiian rolls or whatever. At Chick-fil-A, I'm going Chick-fil-A sauce, which I love. At McDonald's, I'm going a combo of buffalo and ranch.
Let's go. I like that, Doug. That's a good combo.
All right, third question.
Turn that into a man's meal.
Third question. What's your favorite McDonald's McNugget shape? Is it the boot? Is it the round one? Or what's the other one? Just like a rectangle?
Well, there's one that's like, I don't know. It's about that long. You know what, Doug? I don't know the dynamics of the McNugget. I will say this: the boot is pretty tasty. The round one, sometimes they tend not to get cooked all the way through. I've noticed. You run a risk of that. Yeah, and just in my experience. But I mean, McNugs are McNugs, man. They're good stuff.
All right. Well, while we're talking about it, you were right about McDonald's looking like a hospital now instead of a playground like it did when we were growing up. But I'm going to give you a chance. We're going to go out on a limb here. What's your wild card third nugget? In a world where McDonald's is closed because they're doing renovations and it's Sunday, you can't go to Chick-fil-A, but you need a chicken nugget from a drive-through. Where are you going?
Fast food. Okay, drive-through. Well, you said drive-through. That's fast food. Honestly, probably Wendy's, man. If Wendy's nugs are fresh,
yes, Wendy's.
Yes. Wendy's for the win, man. Their nugs are good. They're good.
Yeah. And what's your sauce?
Just ketchup, man. I'm pretty basic on nugs. I really am. I don't have anything exciting as far as sauces. Polynesian, though, I do love Polynesian with Chick-fil-A. Maybe I'd like it with Wendy's, too. So maybe I can save some up from Chick-fil-A and dip my Wendy's nugs in it.
There you go. A little crossover, if you will.
So, okay. All right, Doug. Hold on.
Yeah.
Out of those three nugs, which one is your favorite?
Honestly, I'd probably go Wendy's with the honey mustard.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's solid.
I like
Very
McDonald's, but if we're talking about just Wendy's, just nuggets, I would probably go Wendy's for just nuggets. And honestly, I don't eat McDonald's that often. I might have a hamburger every once in a while. If I'm at McDonald's, it's for breakfast.
I love it.
So,
love it. The hash browns are fire.
All right. Yeah, heck yeah. All right, let's keep the train on the tracks. We're getting local. We did talk about it a little bit, but let's talk a little bit more about maybe did the Stanley Cup really help North Carolina, or are we just in our own heads about this thinking that we're popular and it's going to blow off in 6 months or so?
No, this was a big deal. This is a real big deal. It showcased the best of North Carolina. It showcased the best of a town that's looking to get an MLB expansion team. You look at the fan support. You look at the environment. I was there for Game 1 and Game 5. Luke and I went, and it was epic. I go to Panthers games. I go to all kinds of different games. I've been to, I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. So by right, you go to ball games. At any Louisville game I was at, as often as I could be there, or at least glued to the TV. My point being in saying all this is it's absolutely great for the state. It's great for the city of Raleigh. It's a big freaking deal. The Stanley Cup is really important to a lot of people out there, a whole lot of people. And it's professional hockey, the best in the world. And we got it done. And I say we, as a Carolinian, if you will. But I know you got to be super stoked, Doug. You're a Raleigh guy. It's right in your backyard. They play at NC State's shared basketball stadium. I mean, how exciting is
Yeah.
that, dude?
Yeah. Well, just the hockey team itself and the owner they're renovating Lenovo because of Tom Dundon's leadership and things he wants to do. They want to recreate the Battery in Atlanta, a style thing around the Lenovo Center. Apparently, Lenovo is building their headquarters by Lenovo Center now. They're going to put a big high rise in the parking lot and build it
Wow.
there. So, the things are, what does that spill over to? What does that do? What other revenue opportunities does that create for the Canes to maybe, because they did this on a relatively scant budget compared to the teams that they were competing with, towards the end of the playoffs. They still have salary cap room. So now what does that allow them to do? And do they explore that and going forward? Does it create additional revenue streams maybe for NC State athletics? So maybe now we've got more NIL so we can be more competitive. How does that impact us as well? Obviously, the community is going to be impacted positively. It's putting more eyes on us, making us more of a destination, helping people see what a great place this is, not only to live, but for work and school, education, health care, to get anywhere in the world from here. I think it's been such a great thing.
And you can hold a parade without the town getting burnt to the ground. I mean, honestly, it's just the way it is.
And you know what? That was an excellent segue to our final walkthrough. The Knicks won the NBA title for the first time since 1979. Now, I know it was a while ago. I think they finished before the Canes did, but we made it back around to it. We saved it for the end. What do you think? The Knicks are NBA champs. One of the most iconic franchises in the sport is back on top for the first time in a long time. Do you think this is what the NBA wanted? Or do you think they wanted to see the Spurs win?
I mean, you can look at it through a couple different lenses. The city of New York, the people that get behind the Knicks that haven't had a championship since 1970. What was it, 3? Something like that. I mean,
maybe it was 3. Yeah,
I think it was 73. If not, I'm close. For me, who cares what the NBA wants necessarily, other than they would have loved it if Wembanyama got a title. Right, he's their new generational poster boy, but he's going to be anyway. That dude's unbelievable, and he'll learn a lot from this experience. But as far as the Knicks, congratulations. I mean, you have a passionate fan base. I just hate seeing all the monkey business that goes on with the fights and the carrying on with fan bases and people that are just trying to leave the game. Don't get me wrong, people get a lot of alcohol in them or whatever, and that usually fuels an argument or altercation. But, like, for real, there's no need for everybody, like 20 people to be jumping on a Spurs fan trying to leave Madison Square Garden. Like, I don't know what that dude did, but, like, there's no reason for that. And you're wearing a Knicks shirt. You're obviously supporting the team. Therefore, it kind of makes it forces folks to look at the Knicks as a whole. Like, man, does everybody act like this? I mean, it's just a line you need to not cross, in my opinion. But kudos to them. I know their fans have suffered it out for a while. And honestly, Jalen Brunson is a next level superstar. If that dude can stay healthy, he really is. If he can sustain his health, that guy he's honestly a bigger loss to Dallas, I think, than Luka Doncic is. And I love Luka, huge Luka fan. But I think a lot of it's about Jalen Brunson. Karl Anthony Towns did Karl Anthony Towns things throughout the series. Josh Hart, he's always in there. Like, I appreciated the way that their team played the game of basketball. I didn't appreciate the way the fans acted, but that's not me. I don't live there. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm glad I don't live there, so I don't have to deal with that. I think it's always great when one of the iconic franchises makes it back to the top. Now, does that mean I want to see them repeat? No, of course not. I love parity in sports, of course, unless it's my team, right? But I think it's good to have the parity which the NBA has had in the last several years, which I think is really good for the sport. I don't know if the Knicks will be back. Jalen Brunson is really, really good, obviously. In their core, maybe they can be. We've definitely not heard the last of Wembanyama. I think that the Knicks figured out how to neutralize him a little bit. I think what they have to do is figure out how to freaking hold a lead, because they blew a lead in all but one game. And we're not talking about small leads. And they did it consistently throughout the playoffs. So they've got to figure that out. Obviously, it's one thing to get a lead, if it's to reference the Seinfeld rental car situation. Well, you can take the reservation, but can you hold the reservation? Because that's really the most important part of the reservation. Well, you can get the lead. That's great. But can you hold it? Because that's all that really matters. So maybe they can figure that out. I'm sure they will. They'll be back next year. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And I hope we've got a team from North Carolina to talk about being in the mix a little bit more next year. All right, let's move on to closing time because we're almost there. Before we talk about what we're watching this week, one more thing to recap, since we didn't really talk about it much at all. The College World Series, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the Tar Heels made it. Obviously, I was not pulling for them. I don't care that they're from North Carolina. I was pulling against them as much as I could, and thankfully Oklahoma pulled it out. But it is great to see an ACC team there because, for God's sake, the SEC has won the freaking thing like 7 years in a row now. Obviously, I guess it just means more there. But Carolina was the only team to be back in the finals, I think, 2 out of the last 3 years, which kudos to them. They obviously have a really strong program. And, not to run my mouth too much, but a lot of their players are from North Carolina. They are a North Carolina program, which says a lot about what that coach has done to rebuild that program since he's taken over. So although I wasn't pulling for you, kudos to the Tar Heels. Now, Ben, what are you watching this week?
Well, obviously, like I do every week, oil prices,
broken record,
interest, 10-year treasury. I mean, what's good? It's some people, maybe they didn't listen last week. Maybe they needed a reminder, right? Yep. The World Cup, I'm glued to it. Also, Wimbledon qualifying has started. There's a lot of really good grass tennis tournaments going on that are precursors to Wimbledon. So some really good tennis on as well. So I'll be checking that out and that kind of thing. And hanging out with Luke. We're going to go down to the beach and spend a couple of days and relax a little bit, but still working. So if anybody needs a pre-qual, I could do it right from the beach. I'll have my computer in hand and ready to provide you top tier service, no matter where I'm located.
There you go. No 9 to 5s for us, folks. That's the beauty of our business. We're there when you need us. Just be serious if you want to talk to us, okay? We take what we do seriously. So when you're coming to the table, be ready to have an honest discussion because we're going to meet you where you are. We're going to shoot you straight. We're going to put you in the best position. I was having to talk about what we do for business here. I was communicating with a buyer client last night, and we were talking about, paying so much under list price. And would this make sense to make an offer on a property? And I'm like, absolutely not. And then he said, well, if we're offering cash, we can pay less, right? And I was like, absolutely not. Why would a seller give up a bunch of equity because you can close 2 weeks faster than somebody getting a mortgage? Just so everybody knows, cash buyers, just so you realize, the seller gets cash from the bank when a buyer uses a mortgage. There's no leverage there. Nobody's giving up significant equity because you can close 2 weeks faster than somebody with a mortgage. And if you don't believe me, go find somebody else who'll tell you what you want to hear until you realize it's not going to work because I don't have the time.
Right.
So that's my come to Jesus for you this week. But it's because I love you. I'm being honest. I don't want to waste your time. I'm not setting unrealistic expectations that you believe that aren't reality. We operate in reality, folks. Come back down to earth. Let me show you the way. And if you need lending, Ben's there to help you with that too. All right,
I love it.
We've had fun today. This has been great. Nice to be back in the saddle with you. Hopefully we'll be back soon. I can't tell you the exact date, but it will be soon. Until then, thank you for joining us. My boy, Ben Hawkins, lendwithben.com for all your mortgage needs. That includes refinancing. Doug Yop, the Oceanair Realty. You can contact me directly for your home buying, selling. Heck, I can refer you to somebody if you're out of state. Just let me know. Until then, please like, please subscribe, please comment. Want to hear your thoughts? Tell us your favorite nugget. Tell us your favorite sauce. Tell us how wrong we are so we can get in the comments and actually explain to you why you're wrong. But until then, we will see you next time. Ben, brother, have a great week.
You do the same, Doug. Take care, man.